Hello and welcome to Beach View, our podcast about different things and/or stuff.
Hello. So we're continuing with our musical theme this week.
Yep, we are doing another album. This time it's Death Cab for Cutie's 1998 debut album, Something About Airplanes.
That's right. So I didn't realize when I first started listening that this was their debut album, even though I'm sure you told me that. But I just started listening and I was kind of like, oh, this is like a different sound than I'm used to, somewhat, So I actually looked it up while I was listening and I was like, oh wow, this album's like old. So that was an interesting find for me. What were your thoughts on this album?
98's not that old.
Well, I thought it was like, I thought it was more recent. Like just I don't know why. I just was like started listening and I was like, oh, this is like, more than 20 years old. So
Yeah.
I just didn't realize.
Right, so, yeah, this is like indie rock, very, like, of the era, from that area. It's got that, like, heavy, like, effects pedals on the guitar, and it's very moody,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got these kind of, like, vague lyrics, and a lot of, like, well, not a lot, but some, like, additional instruments, like strings and, like, keyboards on certain songs. And some parts where the guitars sound like violins almost.
Yeah.
So that's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this album.
I liked it too. I would say I probably like their later stuff better, but this feels like, to me, it feels like a pretty solid debut from that like West Coast, like indie rock slash emo kind of scene of the early 2000s. So this was 98, so late 90s, but it definitely like felt like an album from that era where like they're first like kind of getting their establishing themselves in that kind of scene.
Yeah, yeah, which they do, like, change the sound later on. As
Mm-hmm.
we've listened to a Death Cab for Cutie album, before on the podcast, which does sound a bit different than this, so.
Yeah, definitely. I guess that's why I was a little like surprised when I was listening to this because it kind of has like a slowed down kind of like I don't even know how I would describe it, but just kind of like a more mellow maybe kind of feel to it than like the stuff that I've listened to from them that's more recent.
This is also heavier on the guitars, and,
Yes.
like, the effects on the guitars. It's, very late 90s in that way, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Definitely got that like 90s coming in. And a few other like I think decades that it reminded me of.
Yeah, and this is also, like, there's some vocal effects, and it's kind of like a muted vocal performance, and it's, like, a bit low fidelity, a bit like garage rock stuff, not like, high production values stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's why to me it like really had that feel of like the debut like in that, Washington area, like just kind of feel to it. Like it feels really authentic to that time and place to me.
Yeah. So, you want to get into the track by track?
Let's do it.
Alright.
All right, number 1, Been to Squares. So this one's yeah, I liked it. It's a little slow for me. So like, right off the bat, I was kind of like, oh, it's a little slow, but I really like the instrumentation here, like
Yeah.
violins. I don't know if there's like maybe a cello in there. It just sounded like some really pretty string music.
Yeah, and I also like the guitar effect, with that. Yeah, it is a kind of slower song. Again, that, like, really moody, atmospheric feel.
Yeah, like it just it that's a perfect way to describe it. It's like very moody, just kind of I felt like it kind of started off the album with like a nice little introduction to like what this album is.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I enjoyed it. Yeah, like it's a little too slow for like my everyday listening. And it could be like I was tired. I was like sleepy when I was listening to this. So I was like, oh, this could kind of like put me to sleep. But I thought like it was a really good intro to the album.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a fine song. I don't think it's like too slow or anything. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna say that in a lot of these songs. Like it's a
Oh,
little
okay.
slow.
Yeah, this is kind of a slower album, and
It really
yeah,
is.
this song does start off slow, but that doesn't bother me at all. So,
It's funny though, because it kind of feels like it has this like muted kind of feel, but then like it doesn't because it's got that like really nice instrumentation. So it was kind of in the middle, I guess, like for me, like listening to it. Like it's not like a pretty little slow ballad or anything, you know?
no,
It's just
yeah.
like a yeah, I mean it has like the what am I trying to say? Like I think it does well with like the instrumentation, as I said. Like it has more substance than just like a slow kind of song like I would normally describe that way. So I think it
Yeah.
was good. Yeah,
Yeah, the guitar work throughout this album is really good, and I like it on this track.
I agree. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so next.
All right, next, President of What? So I thought this was going to be like a political song. It's definitely not.
No.
Um, and it kind of reminded me of like 70s music.
Oh,
Do you get
okay.
that vibe?
Yeah, I guess it does have like a weird jaunty like keyboard section or like
Yeah.
it's like an organ or synth organ or something.
Yeah, there's something to it that just like gave me those like 70s vibes. Like anytime I've watched like a movie or something that was like set in the 70s and they're like playing music over it, like that's kind of what it reminded me of, which isn't a bad thing. I thought it was a good song. It's not my favorite style, but the song wasn't bad. Like it's also the lyrics, like it kind of sounds like something traumatic happened, you know? Like he says, I
Yeah,
saw the scene unfold. Like it's really kind of like and again another moody kind of song. But
definitely,
what did you
yeah.
think of it?
Yeah, I think I like mostly agree with what you said. Moody, the lyrics are kind of like you said, like give a picture of something negative, but it is kind of vague, so
Yeah, I feel like they're kind of profound. Like, I mean, like the lyrics are more like, I don't know about profound, but I guess deeper. Like one of the lyrics I wrote down, nothing hurts like nothing at all. Like, that's just like one of those deep
yeah.
kind of sounding lyrics. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then like I think this song's well structured. And I like the bit towards the end where the guitar picks up some.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's good. Yeah, it's another decent song, a bit more energy than the last one.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And I thought it, you know, it goes well on the album. It has a little bit of a different sound, like you said, but it definitely like has a place on the album.
Yep. So next,
Number 3, Champagne from a Paper Cup.
woo, drunk
I like the
driving.
song. I know. Well, the very first line is like drunk
Yeah,
driving, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be scary. But I like the song.
yeah. Mellower than the last one. This one also I think has the clearest lyrics. It's about
Yes.
being at a party that kind of sucks.
Yeah, like a drunken night kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
drinking
I think
champagne from a
this
paper
one,
cup. There's never like
yeah,
a
which I mean,
good place to
right. Like
be.
right, exactly. Keep it classy, out of a paper cup kind of thing. But I didn't like the well, obviously like drunk driving. I'm like right off the bat, I was like, ooh, I don't know about that. But I did like the song. It was, you know, like you said, a little bit picked up a little bit from the last one. And I thought it had some good, again, with the instrumentation. And I ended up liking the song. Like sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna like drunk driving type of music, but you know, lyrics, I mean. But but actually this one was pretty good.
I don't think this is saying drunk driving's a good thing.
No, it's not. But that's what I'm saying. I don't like that kind of story, like about drunk driving. I don't like to hear that. But you know, traumatizes me. But but this one didn't have that effect.
No, yeah. feel like this one's kind of like a really moody song.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely captured that, like, kind of, like the lyrics are conveying. It's like being at a kind of a crap party and
Yeah.
just drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the vocal performance on this, and, yeah, the whole moody, sort of, little bit depressing feel. It's a good song.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't like a semi-depressing, moody song?
Yeah, especially when it's backed by, cool guitar effects.
Yeah. I like the feel of the song. I like the sound of the song. Like, I think it's all good.
Yep. Alright.
All right, number 4, Your Bruise. This one's kind of melancholy for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit slow, it's a little bit sad feeling. Not my kind of song I want to like jam out to. But it's not a bad song. It just to me was just a little bit too melancholy.
Okay. Yeah, this is, more of the same, I think. Not the, strongest song on the album, but I still like it.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, same. Like, it's not a bad song. It's just kind of like, let's pep it up a little bit.
Yeah. So, next?
Next, we have Pictures in Exhibition.
Yep.
And I like this song, even though it's a little bit, like the lyrics are just a scotch cliche, like talking about like the plastic people. It's definitely like more poppy than the other ones, I feel like.
Yeah, it's got a bit more of a, like, upbeat sound to it.
Yeah, which I liked. I appreciated that, but it did remind me of like I forget which band it was. Like we reviewed on the podcast and it was like talking about the plastic people in LA.
I mean, there's a Death Cab for Cutie song that shit talks LA,
It
and then
might have
there's
been.
the,
I know I was like I don't
Yellow
remember
Card
which
song.
one it was. Yeah, either way, I just felt like it was like right up in there with like the other songs that refer to the plastic people. So that part to me was like, oh, okay, it's a little bit cliche, but I mean, it's definitely like rife in the late 90s, early 2000s. So why not?
Yeah.
But I did like the more poppy feel of this one.
Yeah, I really like the section at the end when it gets into the, like, I'm definitely shaking part. I like how the, like, vocal performance subtly changes on that to feel a bit, like, out of breath and sort of, like, anxious. And I like the music change there. I think that's, like, a really good moment.
Definitely. I agree with that one.
So, next?
Okay, next we have number 6, Sleep Spent. So this one has some like soft sounds, it's a slow pace, feels more emo to me. I think definitely like has the 90s sounds in like the music, especially at the end.
Yeah. And I like the vocals on this. And yeah, it is, I think, like, slower and kind of, mellower slow. It feels a bit less,
Yeah.
sad than, maybe a different kind of sad than some of the others.
Yeah, that's why I think I put like more emo than like melancholy to me. You know, like because the other song like Your Bruise is more sad in a melancholy kind of way. This one's more of a like let's talk about our feelings kind of way. You know,
Yeah, I
so
can see that.
I like that. Yeah, I liked it. Even though it was slower, like I felt like it was deliberately paced, like in a good way. And I liked it.
Yep. I don't think I have anything else to add on that. It's a good song.
Okay. Yeah, it is. So next, number 7, The Face That Launched 1,000 Shits. Obviously, this is a play on The Face That Launched 1,000 Ships.
Yes, the Trojan War.
Yes. So first of all, the punny title, I'll give a thumbs up to. But the song to me like doesn't gel with the rest of the album. Did you think so?
So from what I understand, this is a cover of a song that, one of the band, or, like, multiple of the band members had on, like, a previous band they were in.
Okay.
So it's, like, not a song that they wrote, I think.
I got you. Yeah, it didn't feel like the rest of the album. It to me like it didn't really make a lot of sense to me. But it makes more sense now that you said it was like a cover of something else.
Yeah. I believe that's the case, that it's a cover from like a previous band they were in.
Gotcha.
At least like one of the members.
Yeah. I mean, I just wasn't feeling it. Yeah.
Oh, I like this song. It is like jokey in the lyrics with
Yeah.
the face that launched 1,000 shits. Like,
I thought that was funny.
it's just centered around that like pun, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like, haha, what if you said shits instead of ships? But
Yeah.
to me, musically, it does fit in with the rest of the album. It's just kind of
Yeah.
funny that it's like a comedy song in the lyrics.
I thought it just didn't fit to me, but
Oh, okay.
I mean it's not like it was totally out there or anything. Like the sound is still, it could vibe, but like I don't know. To me, this was the one like outlier that I was like the other ones like kind of flow nicely, but this was one that was kind of like that's interesting.
No, see, I like this song. Like, I don't think it's out of place at all. Like, I like the crunchy guitar that, like, it's kind of bouncy, and then there's the, like, backing, like, wailing that's, like, really atmospheric, and I feel like that works with the rest of the album, and it's the same, like, vocal delivery, even though the lyrics are what the lyrics are, so.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I think this fits right in, and it's a good song.
Okay. I like the title. All right. Well, next we have number 8, Amputations. So this one is to me definitely like more emo
I could
again.
see that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They have like the speech, the excerpt of the speech at the beginning,
Yeah.
which sometimes I like, sometimes I don't. This one I thought was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good song. It's kind of chill to me, like which I liked. And I like the music. I like the guitar in this. So to me, like I definitely like this one, and I liked it probably better than all the other songs so far.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the strongest on this album. Probably one of my favorites. Like, I think the chorus is, like, the best chorus on here, probably. Just the vocal melody on the, like, amputations or amputating, like, that I think's really cool.
Yeah.
And, yeah, lyrically, it seems to be about, like, a bad relationship, but, like, told from, the speaker's not in the relationship. They're talking about someone else.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting, I think. But yeah,
That I thought that was definitely an interesting point of view that you don't always hear, in a lot of, I don't want to say love songs. They're not love songs, but
no,
you know what I mean?
relationships, breakup
Yeah.
songs, maybe.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. So yeah, definitely interesting point of view. I agree. This is one of my favorites on the album.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think this is maybe the strongest structured song, like, and it has the best chorus, and yeah, still good on the effects and vocals and all that.
I agree.
Yep. So next.
Okay, number 9, we have Fake Frowns. This one's a bit faster.
Yeah, it is. It picks up and it follows directly off the end of Amputations.
Yeah, and I like that. And I thought, it's also a bit grunge. Like it kind of had that like
Yeah, I could see
90s
that.
grunge feel to me. Yeah. So I like that. I like the when I hear songs that like give me that sound or feeling of like that era, and which is like this is like, indie rock / emo, and you're hearing these like kind of grungy sounds. Like I think that's interesting. I like how they put that in here.
Well, I mean, that was, like, really popular and, like, in the air in the 90s. I don't think that's, like, like, too far of a reach, especially because they're doing a lot of, like, heavy effect pedals on the guitar and stuff. Like, I don't think that, like, is far out of reach, sound-wise, so.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I don't think it's like super, special or anything for that time, but I like the sound of that. Like, I always think that it has a more interesting sound than like some others in that era. So I enjoyed it. I also kind of like how it abruptly stops at the end.
Yeah.
That was kind of, I like that effect on the end.
Yeah. I like how this song's like sort of a pickup, probably like the fastest song on this album.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, good chorus on this one. I think this is maybe like the second or third best song on this album.
Yeah. I agree with
And
that.
yeah, like good chorus again. Yeah, like the speed and the energy. And I think it worked really well for the album to go like from Amputations into this. So yeah, good song.
Yeah, I agree. And I like how I'm kind of liking like the songs at the end better than the others. Like I like when you are listening to an album in full and like it gets better as you go on to me, and that's the case with this one.
Yeah, you like when it ends strong.
Yes, I like when it ends strong. Like I like when like one song is like, okay, that's decent. Next song, oh, that's pretty good, and you keep listening and you're like, oh, I like this one. Oh, this one's even better. Like I like how it kind of goes in that kind of speed to me. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I don't have any preference for that. Just album's an
No,
album.
I want him to get better as it goes on. Like I want to be like intrigued. I don't want to be getting like tired of listening. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I like all the songs on this album, so it's not like.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so okay, we're at
Yep,
number
last one.
10. Last one. This is kind of a shorter album. Number 10, Line of Best Fit. So I remember line of best fit in math as like, a straight line represents like the trend in the data. And so I was like, oh, look at this little math little tidbit here. Anyways,
Sure.
you're like, yeah, whatever. But okay, so this one kind of sounds to me like most familiar of Death Cab to me.
Hmm.
Do you think so?
I don't know about that. I don't know that any of this album's like any closer to their normal sound than any of the other songs on the album.
This one to me, I was like, okay, that's sounding more familiar to what I know of Death Cab already. So yeah, I really like this one. I love the guitar in this one.
Yeah, very great.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, this is probably my favorite song on the album.
Yeah, mine too, I
However,
think. Too long?
the outro. The outro was a little bit too long and just slightly too repetitive for me.
Ah, no, I love that. I love when, like, especially your, like, closing track has, like, a really, like, just long, and it's got, like, long sections in it. Like, I think that
No.
really closes out an album strong.
I don't mind like closing out an album that way, but to me like I thought it was my favorite song on the album, okay, as I'm listening to it. I'm like, yeah, I really like this one. It's the strongest one to me. And then it like the outro just like kind of keeps going. And I think honestly, if it wasn't for like the repetitive sound of it, it probably wouldn't have bothered me that much. And I'm not saying like it bothers me, but because like I said, it's the best one on the album. But I was like, ooh, I think it could have been better for me if they would have stopped it sooner.
Ah, no, I love that. And I love, like, once the vocals cut out and it gets into that instrumental section. I think that's a really great section.
I knew you were gonna think
Yeah.
that. So I was like, yeah, like I knew you liked the long instrumentation, but for me I was like, cut it off.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of that.
Yeah.
I also really like the like guitar effects, which you mentioned on this. Like the guitar work on this is really good, and it sounds like strings, but it's not. It's just like guitar effects. I think that sounds really,
Yeah.
really cool.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's like
Definitely.
this really cool, like sort of symphonic sound almost. Really fits with the mood, and I like the vocals at the end when it's kind of like the guitar's kind of distorting a bit, and it like just ends with this really pretty like vocal line. I like that a lot.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty as well.
Yeah, so yeah, good song. Fitting into the album, like the length.
Yeah. I thought it was a fitting end to the album. Could have used slightly shorter length, but
Nah, it should have been longer.
no, I would have turned it off. I would have been like, that's enough. Cut. Yeah. But no, okay, so I thought that Line of Best Fit was my number one song on the album.
Yeah,
Amputations was number two.
yeah, but yeah, those ending three songs are really good, like we were saying in the
Yeah,
track
and
by
then
track.
yeah, number three, Fake Frowns. So yeah, the last three songs to me were definitely the best of the album. So I agree with that.
Yeah, I also I really like Pictures in an Exhibition. I think that's a really cool song.
Yeah, that one was good. I like that one. I like that poppy feel, as I
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, I really like this album. Like I like that like we keep hammering on the guitars, but it creates this really cool like atmosphere, I think. I mean, I like that in general, like heavy guitar work, that's like really like mellow and atmospheric. And it's good here. And I like the like indie rock sound it's in service to. And yeah, this is a cool album to put on and like listen and kind of like sing along to.
Yeah, I thought, overall the album was a little bit slow for me. It was definitely like a good intro though to Death Cab. But I think like the thing that I liked the most was the instrumentation. So like you said, the guitar, the effects, like there's some keyboard up in there or
Yeah.
organ, like violins. Like I like
Mm-hmm.
that kind of like the more interesting sounds to me that added to it. I like that it fit in with that, as I said at the beginning, like the West Coast, like indie rock, emo
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
scene. Yeah, like I really thought it was like very good representation of that in the 90s. And yeah, I think like it kind of brought me back. I always talk about like the OC and how the show the OC like kind of helped to get some of these indie rock bands more famous, and it just kind of reminded me of that when it was like, this was probably a time when Death Cab for Cutie was like not as popular as, they grew to be,
Yeah.
obviously. And it kind of brought me back to that kind of feel like of that era. So I always like that for nostalgia, but I just think it's like cool what came out of like West Coast indie rock
Yeah,
during that
in
time.
this era,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm a
Yeah, so
fan of
I
that.
I like the album for that reason. Yeah, it's like a cool kind of representation of that.
Yeah, and like you were saying, like this being the first album of a band that went on to be like much more popular is kind of interesting to like
Yeah.
listen to like where they started and like how they ended up.
I imagine like diehard Death Cab fans are like just absolutely salivate over this album.
I don't know. I don't know that there's like a ton of those anyways. Like I think they got popular for a bit in the 2000s and then people kind of like moved on.
Forgot about it. Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. I feel like there's always these like diehard like certain indie rock band fans though. So
Maybe
I don't
so,
know.
yeah. I mean, their new stuff still gets play in alternative radio, so they're
Yeah.
still like around. So I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, just not like they were at that
No.
time, but not 1998, but like when they were at the peak of their popularity. But yeah, yeah, I think it's cool that this was kind of a look back and I enjoyed it even though the album was a bit too slow for me.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's jazz, so I guess that's everything. I like
Yeah.
this album a lot, like I said, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, if there's no more discussion on this album, I will take us out.
All right.
So, this has been Beach View. Thank you for listening and join us next time. Bye.
Bye.